Welcome back again. I'm coordinating the resource persons to come in. So that's why this delay. I request all of you to bear with us. As we discussed, these are the major thrust areas of teaching English online, a 5-day online FDP. Friends will be given a chance for hands-on experience. Only today, in the morning session, we had some talk. Later after that, the rest of all sessions would be going hand in hand, and you have all choices to respond whenever you wanted to respond to the speaker. And there are few interesting guidelines or regulations or whatever that we feel we would be liking to go ahead looking at it. For your attention, these are the resource persons who have kindly consented. Professor Venkat Reddy from Department of Training and Development, heading the department from the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. We have Dr. G. Suvarnalakshmi, Dr. Rajendra Singh Ahluwalia, Dr. A.R.N. Hanuman, Dr. Kshema Josh, Mr. B. Seshidhar, Vandana Singh A, and Lakshya Babar, followed by Murali Kaushik and Mr. Srinivas Akela. Am I audible clearly now? Would you please put an S, please? Yeah, there are several S and one not clear. It happens sometimes because of the bandwidth. Kindly support. How is my voice now? You wanted it to be increased or it is coming in a low volume? Great. Thanks for the participants. Audible, somebody said, fine, somebody said. It's interesting, sir. Next to resource persons, these are the 7 occurrences we are meeting, in which around 15 sessions we always participate. Altogether we participate. The first session that goes today, the story of ELT in India, pre and post COVID-19, a keynote address by Professor K. Venkat Reddy. I always indebted to him for his greatness as a guru who has driven the force and who has even left an indelible impression on the field of ELT. He is who coming now and going to address us. Post to his session, we have self-reflections of the participants. May we delay today since we have had a technical glitch in the morning. Thanks, you all have a lot of patience and supported me. We now have post self-reflections part. In the evening, we have 5:30 to 6:30, a question and answer session. This is the day's plan today. Subsequently, we have other 4 days planning is also given for you. And these are some of the interesting do's. I request all of you to do this. Kindly put yourself mute always, unless you are asked to speak, unless you wanted to speak. While you are speaking also, kindly see your surroundings are calm. You have always freedom, raise your hand, provided not in the middle of the presentation of the speaker, unless speaker asks you. You can raise your hand for interaction and the host will let you in. Let's wait until the host enables us to speak. Of course, since it is remote, there is even a technology intervened. Your gadget, my gadget, above all, our internet and bandwidth, surroundings, environment, all that matters. So wait until host enables you to speak. Also use some headphone for clarity. Please put your videos always mute so that we can fix bandwidth issues. Kindly enable the speaker view so that you can understand what is going on. Finally, you are free for using chat option, which is now one that you are doing. It is that we are waiting for. Sir would like to talk about the story of ELT in India, pre and post COVID-19, going to context set. He is going to give us a keynote address. We have Venkat Reddy sir shortly. Within 1 more minute time, he'll be coming in. And I hope everything is well set and you are all comfortable. Kindly sit somewhere, put your devices well. See that the surroundings must be calm. It is heard some of them are under pressure still to log in. I request Ramana sir to immediately drop down a message.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me now, everyone? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. English contact.
Thanks for Professor Venkat Reddy, who has consented, kindly came in now. And we always have technical glitches in the process. The same happened for us also. Thanks for Zoom, which has immediately set it. And thanks for all the participants who have left themselves always here effectively with all patience. And I now request Mrs. Roja to introduce Sir, and subsequently we go ahead with Sir's talk. Thank you very much, sir. You are audible and you are viewable, sir, and you're looking very good in this lockdown period too.
So mostly.
I request Roja. Oh, okay, I'll unmute you. Yeah, ma'am Roja, you can now go ahead.
Events and what happened.
Thank you, Hari sir, and I welcome all the participants and especially Professor K. Venkat Reddy sir to this 5-day teaching English online program. It's my privilege to introduce sir. Professor K. Venkat Reddy is a professor and head of the Department of Training and Development, Dean, Campus Planning, and EC member of English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. He obtained PhD in the area of social linguistics, particularly advertising as a mean of persuasive communication. And it is really awesome to know that he was deputed by Government of India, Ministry of External Affairs to Afghanistan and Vietnam to establish and run English teacher education programs. Not only that, he has a wide and varied classroom experience, conducted many workshops and interactive sessions in ELT, both in India and abroad. To have a complete note on his specialization, it's a very long and huge list.
Hello.
Yeah.
I think the voice is gone.
The voice is gone in the middle, sir.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank
Roja.
you, sir. Sir?
Yes.
Hari, sir?
Yes, you can go ahead, Roja, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And the story of ELT in India, pre and post COVID-19, really the topic is so interesting. And the main thing that I had an experience with Venkat Reddy, sir, have you ever seen a person who missed his flight just because of a thirst in knowing some good things about English? He's none other than Professor K. Venkat Reddy, sir. So now I welcome from the team of English of Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology. Sir, your presence in this FDP will definitely be a blessing, and all the participants will surely be benefited from your guidance, sir. Signing off, this is Roja, and over to you,
sir. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm visible.
Fine, sir. You are audible and you are visible. You're not actually visible. Let me see from my screen.
I don't know why. Is it okay?
Yeah, you are visible for us. You're visible for us, and you're also audible.
I'm not visible to myself. It's difficult. Still, this place is over here. The topic that is displayed. I want to thank the English teaching force of Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology, particularly Dr. Hari and others, and Dr. Roja for introducing me.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think it's not long ago that Hari called me to be here, to be able to be part of this this webinar on teaching English online. I think it's a 5-day long webinar come workshop. I think that's how it's been titled. When he asked me to give the keynote of this 5-day online FDP come workshop, I said 5-day, 5 different areas, and it's the duty of the keynote speaker to see that he doesn't stick to one area, but he has to have a bird's eye view of the topics that are lining up for presentation. And therefore, keynote address doesn't actually say anything clearly, any one thing clearly, and it touches upon many things that fall within the area of English language teaching or English language training or English language. These are 3 areas that I thought I would say by giving a comprehensive view of the presence of English as a language, English as literature, and English as language teaching, since I guess most of the participants who have signed up for this FDP apparently are English teachers, and that aspect will also be touched upon. And my presentation will have 4 distinct parts. My presentation will have 4 distinct parts.
Would you like to share your screen, sir?
Yes, that's right. I need to. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would like to share my screen.
Are you sharing it?
Yep. I'm trying to. I'm trying to now. Firstly, where is it? This is what we have decided to knock down the lockdown caused by the pandemic, and we're also learning so many things with regard to the but now, please hold on, I am here. Where is oh yeah. I think I've logged out again. Please hold on. Oh yes. I'm sharing a screen. Yeah, here it is. Okay, can you all see the screen over here? I can see some of my students also lining up. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is visible, sir. It is visible.
Absolutely. That's the topic I want to discuss today with you. And when we try to do a talk on a topic of this nature, vast in terms of its presence and information, and one cannot expect it to be one person's knowledge. It's a culled out knowledge from various sources. As I said in the beginning itself, ELT here I'm using synonymously for English language teaching, English language training, English language literature, and English language learning or education. So therefore, it's important that it's demanding on my part to have some chunks of it, and I would like to make a presentation of this topic in 4 different parts. And it's like this. My talk has 4 parts, and first part is English in the British Raj and how English English surfaced on the shore. And next, English after the independence and its scope, presence, and what functions had it been asked to perform soon after the independence, and what is the role of English and how its reach, presence, and functions have changed after India becoming a member of the World Trade Organization in 90s, and what changes have happened in the learning part of English language. And suddenly there is COVID starting from 15th of March, and how everybody has been asked to look at classroom performance differently, if at all there is a classroom at all. So I would like to discuss the topic in these 4 different parts. Let's now look at part 1 and the presence of English during the British Raj, how it all started. You know, the British Raj, our great, colonizers who landed on our shore first as merchants and slowly started occupying the country, and like some people say, English language, using English language, our colonizer has given a complete organic shape to our country as a nation. You know, Charles Grant, when he came to India as one of the employees of the East India Company, was also part of the religious missionary. He had double roles. He works for the British East India Company, apart from being part of the missionary groups. He wrote something which is known as Observations of Charles Grant, and he felt that a policy of bringing about change in the Indian society, morally and mentally, through the English language, Western education, and Christianity. So that's how they wanted to change the thinking of the native subjects, not using the vernacular literature, vernacular languages, the wealth of literature that was hidden in the Sanskrit language, but they wanted to change using these 3 systems. One is English language, Western education, scientific education, and of course the religion, Christianity. And Grant was both, as I said, was an employee of the East India Company, and he was also an evangelist. English, when Grant was toying with this idea of bringing English language, and that language already had the name among those who are using it as the Christian tongue, because by then it did not have so much of presence in the administration, so much of presence in the colleges and schools, but it was the language used for the spread of Christianity. So in the early days, English also has this name of being the Christian tongue. Grant equated, because he was working for the British East India Company, and he was propagating that it was like God with the protector of British commerce. The missionary in him equated truth with the English language, Western education, and Christianity. You can very clearly see that, and they had a very interesting purpose of trying to introduce English language, Western education, to advance 2 things. One, their missionary zeal, as well as to continue to administer the Indian colony. And Grant's introduction of English as the medium of instruction in a Western system of education that included literature, very important, natural sciences, mechanical inventions, etc. Why? They claim to remove the superstitious beliefs prevalent among the heathens of India. So they felt that Indian society is ridden with a lot of superstitions, because Indians did not have what they thought was a rationalist approach to education, and everything was based in Sanskrit, and they thought practices that Indians did were superstitious, and that could be ridden out by the introduction of English language. The adoption of English as the official language of the company and the government for easy communication between the rulers and the ruled. So you can see twin purposes of introducing English: to help the government communication, because we needed a link language between the ruler and the ruled, as well as to help the society, become free of superstitions and other negative energy that was being circulated in full force at the time. And they also wanted local support, because an outsider can't do these things unless the subjects also contributed their might to it. Raja Ram Mohan Rai was a serious critic of some of the inhuman traditions that were prevalent in the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. And I'm sure some of you also know that he established something called Brahma Samaj, and using that he was propagating for a better society, which doesn't have superstitions, which doesn't have irrational thinking, and especially he waged a war for the abolition of the inhuman practice of sati. Sati is a practice I guess all of us know, at least those who studied social sciences, was that at the time when the husband died on the same pyre, the surviving wife also is thrown into the flames, and that's how sati sahagamanam was practiced, and it was felt to be very inhuman. Indeed, it was. And he fought with the British, and they made representations, and he saw to it that British abolished this practice of sati. So there are quite a few such inhuman practices, and Raja Ram Mohan Rai also fought and made a case for the introduction of English education, introduction of Western education, introduction of scientific education, so that people learn to reason as to what they do, thereby producing a society based on reason, based on scientific thinking. So the East India Company, the evangelist, also saw in him a ray of hope, and through him they saw to it that several Indians who also thought like Raja Ram Mohan Rai made their representations to the British Raj for the introduction of English education. So citing his demand as the voice of the country, they influenced the British Parliament in favor of the English education in the country. Lord Macaulay, in fact, when Grant was visiting our country, along with Grant, there three more important people were also there, and they were along with Grant in 1792, there were three more persons, and there was Zachary Macaulay, who was also father of Lord Macaulay, who came to India in 1834, and William Wilberforce, who later was member of British Parliament, and also because of his help as the Macaulay's minutes that were prepared in 1935 in India, and as a result of which English education started happening. So his son, Macaulay's father, was also in India, and he also wanted that Indian society must change. The change has to happen with the introduction of English-based Western scientifically related education. And Macaulay, Zachary Macaulay's son, Lord Macaulay, came to in 1834 and as the president of the General Committee of Public Instruction. Macaulay prepared a minute based on which English education was instituted in India. He did not say anything new in it, though, because it was Grant's proposal originally. And he got the sanction from British Parliament before he declared and he introduced in our country. He echoed the sentiments of Lord Charles Grant and his father, Zachariah Macaulay, and other missionaries. The minute, which is famous in history as Macaulay's Minute, is based on an idea that English education is not just superior in science, but also inculcate superior moral, superior humane qualities. It's not just science, but also has a lot of humanistic faith that everybody thought we would all learn by Indians required at that time by being part of English education. So he envisaged creating, I quote, a class of persons, Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. Now you can see very clearly the aggressor's view of the subject that they were ruling over. So at the end of the day, whatever they did, not to benefit the subjects, but to benefit the rulers. And you can see that attitude of the ruler, attitude of the aggressor in Macaulay's idea of why Indians needed this kind of education. And interestingly, you can see that there are three things here. One, it's not just that Indians should be able to use English for the purpose of communicating with their rulers, but also to institute a set of morals, institute a kind of intellect that went well with the mindset of the aggressor, mindset of the ruler, the mindset of the. So for that, what was in store? And this was the curriculum and the methodology. And they used poetical selections of William Goldsmith, Gray, Addison, Shakespeare, selections from their poetry, and they used Milton's Paradise Lost, Pope's Iliad by Homer, Shakespeare's Hamlet, besides his pieces of poetry and sonnets, Hamlet, Othello, and Macbeth. Alexander Duff, however, this was the syllabus that they wanted to introduce in our schools and colleges at that time. By then, the university system did not take place. And using this, they wanted to teach, very important here, we've been now criticizing that this is now don't accept such material as learning material for various reasons, but their idea was just to teach English, but also teach morals. Morals, they thought, were very superior. You can see they were all based on the Bible. However, there was a gentleman, Alexander Duff, was part of the delegation who established a seminary in Calcutta he was from UK at the time. Alexander Duff objected to this secular, godless education. So you can see among themselves there was no uniformity because they thought that these pieces didn't have anything that they thought was God. So godless education. So he demanded the inclusion of texts such as the Bible, Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, and other pieces that were extracted from the Bible. As a result, apart from secular texts of the kind that we have just cited, and there were also portions of the Bible were also part of the curriculum at that time. And what was the methodology? Apparently, it was teacher-centered lecture method, and the language, and that's what today say. The methodology was teacher-centered, and it was a teacher's talk, and teacher lecture methodology. And since most of the teachers at the time were British, apparently it was in the direct method, and there was no scope for translation. It can be understood that way. And one biggest problem was that learning to speak by on the basis of literary pieces of that period, because there's a huge time lapse and huge, it was relocated into a different culture, and the language of the literature that way is always dated, not conducive for day-to-day conversations. There are samples of which the Indians, after learning English through this curriculum produced, looked very much artificial and as if it was not for normal, ordinary communicational purposes. And it looked like, to speak in a very high Miltonic style, but not meant for ordinary communication, that they thought could be instituted by way of using these literary pieces. And then came the Wood's Dispatch, which a different U-turn to what Macaulay was thinking of developing a set of moral human beings with the introduction of English education. The Wood's Dispatch of 1804 attempted to dispel. By then, many Indians started looking at the syllabus being, very suspiciously, and especially in Calcutta, Muslim population did not accept teaching of religious texts in the schools and colleges, as well as some of the, Hindu, the Sanatana Dharma followers who always held Sanskrit language and Sanskrit literature in high esteem, and they were suspicious of Indian mind getting bullied into a set of behaviors. So attempted, excuse me, my apologies. I have put that on a silent mode, and they in fact the dispatch attempted to dispel these fears. They said, trying to tone down the imperial rhetoric of Lord Macaulay, that whatever the Raj did only to benefit the Raj kind of thinking people were going through, and Wood's Dispatch dispelled that. It's free from Macaulayan contempt for Indian beliefs, customs, languages, and literatures. And this is when I think Wood's Dispatch also recommended that apart from English, vernacular literatures and vernacular languages such as Sanskrit, Hindi, and Urdu and Persian, literatures and languages should also be taught alongside the English language. You can now very clearly see what is very famously known as the translation method of teaching is the result of teaching multiple languages and literatures at the same time happen here. In the first leg of teaching English, it was direct method, English to English. A lot of explanation could have been there with simpler English and all, but there was no scope that the British who taught those subjects used native languages. But here it's a policy that we said English, you should also teach other languages. And I think this is the time when translation from English to vernacular languages were encouraged, and the same thing could have crept into the classroom where English was also taught in the bilingual, maybe trilingual method. This way, say the grammar translation method took its roots here. First time, and again, the Wood's Dispatch till that time, till the Wood's Dispatch of 1854, there was no mentioning of any special effort with regard to teacher education. I think all teachers are here now signed up for this course, and only in 1884, Wood's Dispatch, at least in letter, agreed for teacher education. for the first time. We moved from direct teaching, direct method to grammar translation method, translating the text from one language to the other. The purpose is twin purpose. One is to acquire language as well as to acquire the behavior, the kind of philosophy, the worldview, which is parceled within the structures of the language. And you can see it here. It's Professor Krishnaswamy, who was my teacher, and several others who worked on how English was introduced in the country and how English, in fact, used Indian soil as a trial ground, as a testing ground for several things. Although the British had so many other colonies across the world, it went to the extent of being called an empire where the sun never set. But if they did not dare experiment with the language on any other soil, but they did everything about their language, every trial about the potency of their language, every trial about the competency of their literature, their grammars, and they experimented on our soil. So when English was introduced as language and literature in India, the two major universities in England, the Oxford and Cambridge, did not think that English language and literature were fit to be taught as subjects to their own populace. It's interesting indeed. So it was venerated a lot in the parliamentary proceedings and here in the form of acts and in the form of ordinances. But even their own intellects in England, they did not have any favorable opinion of their own language and their own literature. And in those universities, while English was being taught here, not just the language, English literature also was being taught here, their own famous universities did not think that English was fit enough to be offered as a scholarly pursuit in their universities. And in that place of English, they offered Latin, which was the language of the church, as well as Greek languages and literatures. These two were known very well as the classical languages. And only after seeing the success of their language and literature, they grudgingly, after many years of it being used in our country, very grudgingly, they started. First, they offered in their smaller colleges before they become full-fledged papers in their universities. India, therefore, was a trial ground for everything related to the curriculum, materials, methodology of teaching English, not just English, teaching of any language as a second language. So all the testing, all the trials were conducted on this soil, with English as a major example. So, the rulers used our land as the testing ground. The first ever, pedagogic grammar of English was written and practiced in India. And today, still in many places across the world, teaching grammar is equal to teaching that language. And the first ever school grammar, pedagogic grammar, grammar to learn a language, as far as English language was concerned, learning English as a second language, and learning of grammar was also conducted here. Only after seeing the educational success of English language and English literature in India, the British universities started including the English language and literature in their curriculum. I was talking about this pedagogic grammar, school grammar, to teach and learn English as a second language. I'm sure all of you may have a copy. If you don't have a copy, I'm sure all of you would have seen this book called The High School English Grammar, written by two English teachers working in India In Lahore, they were teaching English to the children of Indian Army that included both the British as well as Indians. Wren and Martin, and the name of the book, which is still very famous. I'm told Chandan Company, which publishes, gains and earns more money by selling this book than any other books. The high school English grammar was written for the consumption of English language learners who learned English as a second language on the soil. It's the first ever pedagogic grammar written on any language, and especially learning any language as a second language. So in the British Raj used their own colony as a testing ground to test the potency of their language as well as their literature. Now, post independence, and you know that many of those leaders who led the movement were all English educated, mostly in England. So the liberal education that they went through, that they got in universities in the West, helped them learn how to overthrow the oppression and oppressed regimes. And post-independence, associate official language of the country. English was accepted as associate official language of the country. It's sitting too well in the pages of Indian Constitution as associate official language of the country, although the British left, but English language was in no mood to leave because it had a very important social function to fulfill, and we are using still as a unifying force of these diverse Indian nation, and we use that as a link language in our country. And I think that's one of the reasons why we accepted, government of India accepted, Nehru's government accepted and used it as link language, associate official language of the country. The state of English was at the time, soon after independence, was not so much. It was merely a library language. What does it mean? And the kind of English that was taught at the time used only two skills. It was the purpose of reading. What's the meaning of library language? Library language means by reading the books, reading journal articles, you will have knowledge, but the society did not have so much of English-speaking persons to be able to use that actively by speaking. So limited use is given as the language reading and gaining knowledge, and writing, taking the exams as well as writing applications and preparing files. And syllabus at the time, soon after the independence, we didn't have textbooks. So what happened was structural syllabus prepared by the London School was brought to India by the British Council. Again, British Council helped a lot in the spread of English language in the post-independent India. It was first used in 1952 in the Madras Madras state. And in 1958, the government of India felt that since we accepted English as the associate language of the country, there must be some positive measures in order to produce quality English teachers who would also help teach language in the using accepted methodology. So in 1958, the government of India is called Central Institute of English in Hyderabad. Today, for strange reasons, it's not the same. It is something else. So the main objective at that time was to impart quality teacher training to the in-service government teachers. So that was the only purpose for which this institute was established. In-service teachers, not the pre-service one. Pre-service, they were teacher education institutions, but Central Institute of English, our main objective was to impart quality teacher training to those teachers who were already working in the government area. And but since we didn't have trained persons at the time, British Council came forward to man the institute, and it sponsored experts in ELT, those stayed at CIE and trained hundreds and hundreds of teachers. The educated Indians then started cropping up to replace the native speakers. For example, Professor Bose and Professor HNL. There were others who were Western educated in England, took over from them and started running the courses at CIE. In 1970s, CIE and later CIFL did a human service to change the English language teaching practice in the country. They produced textbooks, and the first generation, as you noted, textbooks were all literature-based and structure-based. They were all imported from England and used there. But CIE and CIFL later started producing textbooks using Indian content in English alongside materials from Reader's Digest, which means mostly the materials used was literature-centered, and the exercises if you were a product of such a system of education, you would not miss that. We did a lot of practice of structures by using what is called those tables, substitution tables, very famously. If you open a textbook and see substitution tables, you would understand unmistakably, you'll not miss it, that this textbook followed something called structural syllabus. And at the time when CIE produced learning material, they produced two types of textbooks. One for the private schools which offered English medium, and also one for the schools which offered education in the vernacular medium. And CIFL also very started English by radio, and for the first time we also used methods of mass communication for dissemination of English language education. And later, of course, even before CIE, there were some state institutes established. One of the first state institutes established was in Allahabad, and then in Calcutta. That's called Institute of English Calcutta. Institute of English Allahabad also took part in the production of quality English teachers, which means that teachers for the first time understood that teaching a language is different from teaching a subject. And it all started with the introduction of these institutes. The methodology used, however, was in tune with the structuralist thinking that time, which was very famous in the Western universities, which means language, everything has a structure. If you remember the Saussurean philosophy of structuralism and how it percolated down into the understanding of language as structure and discourse as structure, discourse constituents as sentences of a structure, and sentence constituents downward phrases of a structure, word as a structure. So that kind of thinking did not leave even the area of English language. English language education was steeped in the structuralist mode of understanding the world as well as the world in the language. And For the first time, post-independence post-independence India also had something called PGDTE, what was offered. It was actually offered at the CIE. It was established only to offer postgraduate diploma in the teaching of English for the in-service teachers. And later, central government also came up with two important schemes to further entrench into the rural areas where India lived mainly. These two schemes, District Center Scheme and ELTI schemes, were devised and were given over to the CIEFL, and it was the nodal agency through which the district centers were identified, district centers were fortified, and every summer there used to be something called summer school for the in-service English teachers, in the methodology to be adopted, in the materials and produced already, and how they could be used. So CIE did a lot of work in that area. And again, all those who are working in the engineering colleges, and I'm very glad to say that it's in the engineering colleges where a lot of thinking about modern way of thinking about English language education is happening. And it's in the engineering colleges where there are well-established laboratory as well as well-trained teachers working to teach English as English for technical, English for professional purposes. And the first ever language lab was established at CIFL. And courtesy Professor Bansal, who did his PhD in Edinburgh University in phonetics and phonology, when he became professor at the Central Institute of English, he established a lab, but that lab was a prototype, and that lab was analog in nature, unlike the kind of labs that you have. And it is Bill and his team which first produced tapes, and also they produced language manuals that are to be used in the labs, but they did not have anything that we have today as functional English. They had only stress and intonation related stuff. That's why they said it's spoken English. Spoken English is a technical term which means stress, intonation, and rhythm put together is called spoken English. However, it is also used generally meaning oral communication. The oral communication part of English is also now used as spoken English, but as a technical term, that was it. And Bansal did a survey, and he was instrumental what came to be known in academics as GIE. GIE is General Indian English. And they identified, they surveyed and noted that it is possible to have one variety, although there are as many Englishes in the world as there are other languages in terms of pronunciation. But for the purpose of Indian education, for the consumption of Indian learners of English, we needed one variety that should be given the status of official variety of the language. And I think that's GIE. Again, credit goes to CIE for giving a shape, giving a variety English that came to be used in our schools. The structuralist grammar translation teaching, as shown in the high school English grammar, was dominantly practiced. Even the textbooks reflected that. And substitution tables used to drill the structures. There used to be a paragraph. When I was a student, I experienced this. There was a paragraph in English in the year-end exam, which was to be translated into the vernacular language. So therefore, they did not miss the main philosophy based on which the textbooks were written, based on which education, English education was being imparted, the grammar translation method. The teachers and the students used to be more or less from the same social groups. Yes, that time in the 60s, in the 70s, close to 80s as well, the education did not percolate down to the rural areas and into the people who had been neglected for various reasons for centuries. And the teachers and the learners' social class used to be the same. And translation was also easy. And the language and the ideology of the speakers and the learners used to be the same at that time in the immediate decades after the independence. Because that's how teachers' talk was dominant, and teachers' talk used to be the only mainstay based on which language transactions used to happen. And there's no place till the mid 80s for listening and speaking, neither in the curriculum, nor in the textbook, nor in the classroom praxis, nor in the evaluation that usually is conducted at the end of the academic year. And the English education at the time, till we became globalized, was limited to the teaching of reading and writing, but the other important skills were not given they did not have any place in any of the areas of language education. Now, globalization in 1990, if you remember, P.V. Narasimha Rao was at the helm of affairs in our country. He was the Prime Minister. Manmohan Singh, who later became the Prime Minister from the Congress Party. India joined WTO, World Trade Organization. And when we joined WTO, it was not the name that was the name at the time was GATT Agreement, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. And we became globalized. The license Raj ceased to exist. And slowly a lot of things started happening in the area of education, in the area of commerce, in the area of business, in the area of the way business is to be conducted, in the area of employment as well. And till that time, education, as I told you, the English language was never taught in terms of skills, and it was never thought to be possible. The thought did not exist that we could also have functional approaches to language education and all. It all started happening post-globalization. And when we signed the GATT agreement, and many companies started sprouting, they started coming in and pitching their tents on the outskirts of the smaller towns and bigger towns. Now all those outskirts have become central points of those towns, including Madhapur in Hyderabad, for instance. That was on the outskirts. Now it's a different area altogether. And at the time, Mark Tully was a very influential British journalist in our country. He was working for the he was working for BBC, and he toured the country, and he saw what was happening post-globalized Indian job market. He came and he wrote in a book, Non-Stop India, and there he made this very, very much disturbing statement that India is divided again. India was divided along many lines, but his point here is that India divided again, and this time the element which divided India was the English language. And he wrote that the educated English educated urban youth cornered 95% of the new wave jobs that came to our country. All of them were Anglo-centric. Those who knew how to use English landed jobs, and those who did not know how to use English were relegated, were rejected, which means only the urban youth cornered all the jobs. And majority of India that lived in the villages did not have an opportunity to get recruited to work in these new wave jobs. And his statement, his observation was, he made it very loud, and because the mouth that is loud is the mouth which is heard. So Government of India also, took that seriously, because if Government of India did not bring in changes to its curriculum, its policy of education, and only those privileged urbans would land all the jobs, but the entire India will be rendered jobless. So it appointed a committee, so that in democracy, remember, we all work through committees. And I'm sure you would have known National Knowledge Commission. It used to be known as NKC, and the chairperson that United People's Alliance government was Sam Pitroda, who was friend of Rajiv Gandhi, and Sam Pitroda was the chairperson of National Knowledge Commission, and whose original name was Satya Narayana Patrudu. So he went to US and came back as Sam Pitroda, but he's a very well-known intellectual who's responsible for telecom revolution in our country. And he submitted a report to the government, and as part of the report and main recommendation of this National Knowledge Commission is that English be used from class 1 as a language. If possible, they very strongly recommended English must be used as medium of instruction in all the schools, government and private, central and state. And that's the only way to bridge the widening gap between the urban English educated youth and rural educated youth in the vernacular medium. And that's when Government of India took seriously, and although it did not make that recommendation, did not take that recommendation seriously, but I think everyone heard what was the need, and many state governments came forward to make changes in their curriculum. And now the curriculum today is expanded, and the status of English and the scope of English also changed from mere link language, mere library language, and now today English is seen no longer as any other language, but it is a language of opportunities, and it is the language of new wave jobs. And we started offering English in our schools and colleges as 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. However, if you look at the textbooks prepared by CBSE, especially very well prepared textbooks, which if you remember Rajashekar Reddy's government success schools, he also favored to introduce those schools at that syllabus, CBSE syllabus. Of course, there was a lot of opposition from the teachers, saying that they were not trained enough to teach using the CBSE syllabus. But it's a known fact that CBSE syllabus followed CLT, communicative language teaching approach, and language learning also happens there using activities. And you can have a place for listening, place for speaking, place for reading, place for writing, plus through the input skill, grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary also very well thought of, guided by the language functions. There are certain things also happen simultaneously in our society. The welfare, our being a welfare state, there has been so many welfare activities and measures to bring in the section of our society who had been relegated, who had been disadvantaged in terms of culture, in terms of economy, in terms of education. So because of the success of these welfare programs, the learner profile in our classes also changed. As I told you in my last slide, we discussed that in the till mid 80s and early 80s, the class profile, the profile of the learners and the profile of the teacher, the social worlds of these two groups used to be the same. But with the success of these programs, the classroom fabric has changed from homogeneous to heterogeneous, from homogeneous to heterogeneous, and learners' profile also turned very much pluralistic, multicultural. Now that is a biggest problem faced by all the language teachers of subjects as well. Now that's when we wanted to change the classroom practices. You know, post-globalized, as I already discussed, this places, call centers established, all the four skills being given equal importance. CBSE used CLT, not just CLT, but functional approach that you are all familiar with, because in your labs and in your textbooks, it's now functional approach. It's all started as a result of the serious discussion that happened post-globalized language education, as well as the kind of profile, mixed profile that of the learners that we have. However, CBSE teaches and taught using CLT and functional approach. It had listening as a component, separate component given, output, speaking as a separate component attached, but there was a huge mismatch between the syllabus taught and the tests conducted. Centralized tests conducted by CBSE didn't have listening as a testing component, so, and also speaking, and the teaching was still teacher-centered. Now, this had been the situation till we started thinking about changing the existing practices in order to accommodate the pluralistic, heterogeneous nature of the class. And there, I have been advocating for something called, we need to bring in adjustments to the kind of teaching practice that is in vogue, and there we just don't always look at the teachers to change, but also there are certain things which contribute together for the construction of positive learning, and those I call them as partners of learning. So the learning is not always in the hands of the teacher, and learning, these are the 7 partners. Only when these 7 come together actively, it's possible to institute positive learning. Teacher is an important element or the partner of learning. Learner is an important partner in learning. Classroom also, because if the classrooms are crowded and there's no place for any kind of activity, and what can anyone do? So the classroom also, we need to change. School management, because language teaching is not should not be treated analogous with teaching a subject. Learning materials, we use only textbooks so far written by somebody somewhere who had no knowledge as to who would use this textbook and their social background and their belief system, ideology, social ideology and all. And I think never been taken into account when learning materials were produced, centralized learning materials were produced, and delivery mechanism also is because of the largeness of the classes, crowded classrooms, as well as the material that has gone into the making of the construction of textbooks did not have anything to change but we still use teachers talk. But now, because of the changed profile of the learners, there is a need to change even the classroom communication from teacher talk to activity-based, inclusive education because of the many social words congregating under the same roof with the same objective of coming to schools and colleges to learn. And I think delivery mechanism must also change. So should the activity of evaluation, centralized evaluation. And we need to also see that evaluation is within the reach of the teacher, evaluation is within the reach of the learner, and multiple sets of multiple ways of evaluating the learner's learning of the language must also be seriously thought of. Therefore, we fix responsibility of learning not always on the teacher, but these other partners must also contribute positively for the construction of positive learning. I offer these courses in the university and conduct workshops as to how the activities, or if some of you must have attended workshops conducted in Vizianagaram Engineering College. Dr. Suvarna was there at that time, and we also started discussing these things, and some of you would have attended. And since then, I'm doing it on a mission to see that language learning is a shared responsibility. To that effect, if the teacher is active, learning doesn't happen. If the learner is active, learner doesn't happen. But all these things must be properly constructed and positively positioned to generate positive strengths that I call learning-centered classroom. Not the teacher-centered, because teacher is the king, not the learner-centered. You can't have a learner without the teacher. You can't have a teacher without the learner. So therefore, it's the teacher, learner, classroom, school management, learning materials, all of them contribute only to learning. Therefore, the teacher comes to school to produce learning, learners come to school for learning, classroom is there to produce learning, school management to contribute to learning, materials to contribute to learning, delivery mechanism also to produce positive learning. So why not? Why not we think about not teacher-centered, not learner-centered, but together, not just these two elements together, but all other partners together produce learning-centered classrooms, learning-centered environment where learning happens through activities guided by the language functions. And then suddenly COVID-19 happened and COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we started looking at our responsibilities, started looking at our role as teacher of languages, teacher of subjects. Overnight, everything had come to a standstill. Colleges were closed. And when we closed our university and we did not finish all the syllabus, we didn't know what to do. So COVID-19 pandemic changed everything. It's a global pandemic and a near catastrophe. The virus has impacted every field of our daily routine: the economy, social relations, transport, leisure activities, healthcare, education, and so on. The pandemic has changed forever everything that has helped create consciousness and the social world. As you know, we are now in a lockdown state, and to there's a very catchy statement: to knock down the lockdown. There have been very many creative activities. There are numerous webinars being conducted to help the learners, teachers, and educational managers to think and look for the alternative in order to continue the academic year. Society is no longer the same, and human values are no longer the same. If someone died, people used to go and pay last respects. But today, if someone died, and I think people are not going forward to pay the last respect. So that's how I understand that even the human values are no longer the same. So surprisingly, the society told us, I know, because the government has opened all and everything, but not education and educational activity. And for the first time, the lockdown made me understand that education is not at all part of the essential commodities of the society. Although we imagine and lived in that imagination that it is essential for the growth of a society. So therefore, it's not primary requirement of society, perhaps like culture and like entertainment. Education is the secondary level of requirement of society. But the pandemic made it abundantly clear that education is not part of the essential services. Thus, COVID-19 has given a severe blow to all the educational and academic activities. This is when we were thinking about online education. Till yesterday, all our research and all our preoccupation had been to conduct face-to-face mode of instruction for positive learning, but pandemic created to also look for alternatives. One of the alternatives is using online teaching. Now here, I would like to discuss in this part how I changed my way of teaching from face-to-face, how I moved from face-to-face to online, although like all of you, we had no notion of going online. But is online that strange to all of us? I don't think so, because we have been in the habit of using a lot of educational technology. So that educational technology aligned to nationwide, worldwide web would produce what's called online learning or online teaching. What does it mean? So my experience, in the middle of March this year, we were all directed to abandon the routine teaching and put up inside the closed doors under the lockdown. I think you did the same. If you had come out and there was heavy policing, and why did you have to come out? So that's how we were all under the lockdown. By then, I completed only 60% of the syllabus. 40% is yet to be transacted. We didn't know what to do. In a week's time after the lockdown, we were all informed to conduct the classes online. That's a diktat, an order from UGC and also Ministry of Human Resources Development. That's when I asked myself, online? What's online? I've heard of online courses, but have never ever done any such thing. But yes, now it's no longer an excuse. You can't say that I don't know how to operate gadgets. You can't say I don't know how to use digital apps which facilitate interface for the communication. Now it's no longer something that you can say, I don't know and I don't want. If you don't know and if you don't want, I'm sure you will fall short of and you become invalid. And this is how we keep abreast of ourselves with the changing requirements of the educational system. But I don't think that as teachers, we didn't know anything about language online teaching, because online teaching also uses the educational technology that we have been using in our face-to-face mode as well. Educational technology has two parts. One is the hardware, another is the software, and the third one, of course, is alignment with the internet. Is technical support to conduct the normal face-to-face learning, such as laptop, we already have, smartphones, we do have, desktop, tabs, LCD projectors, electronic podium, memory cards, internet, all of them at least we had in our university. I'm sure in engineering college also, this is one of the requirements of the NCTE, not NCTE, the technical education. UGC as well made it mandatory that
AICTE,
right? Yeah, AICTE. Thank you very much for helping, Hari. AICTE also made it mandated to have all this in our schools. This we know how to use. So this is one part of the game that since we know how to use them, we use in our classes as well. And in our face-to-face mode of teaching, as teachers, we have all the knowledge of using these electronic or digital gadgets in the classroom. We use them as teaching aids and have no knowledge how to use the teach. Of course, we did not use this to teach online, but we did use these gadgets in our regular classroom practice, at least to download audio material or to play audio material, or sometimes to show things, and sometimes to bring in some changes to the routine of the teacher talk. I'm sure, like some of you must have fallen back on this for help. This, apart from the hardware just discussed, some apps and CMC, that's computer mediated communication, driven by the internet is essential. Plus, what we lack so far, because we never thought about this kind of a revolutionary situation that we would one day be forced to live indoors, and we did not have anything prepared as material to be used online. Although we did sometimes discuss what is called blended learning, wherein some portion of the syllabus done online and the rest done offline. So the blend of both the technology and internet, but we never ever thought about facing this kind of a situation, pandemic situation, calling us to arm ourselves with the latest technology and how to use the technology online, plus technology centric material, technology amenable material that is conducive for use on the internet way of communication is something we were not ready to. So what did I do? I used these software apps that provide audio video facilities, Google Meet, Zoom, Skype, Facebook, WhatsApp, especially WhatsApp helped me a lot in keeping in touch with my students by creating groups, and emails as a source also to keep connected with my learners and students who were also similarly led immovable and lived in lockdown conditions. And some e-tools, I mean, these are software tools, MS Word, also I think many of us are familiar, but still I know several people don't know how to use, but you got to PDF tools to make worksheets, to present worksheets and PPTs of this kind, we must always have a complete knowledge of. And WhatsApp groups, I formed WhatsApp groups. I've offered 3 courses this year. MA I was offering before we went lockdown was a MA teaching pronunciation, and PGDTE I was offering the kind of stuff that I discussed there, learning partners and how each partner be responsible for creating positive learning, innovation in ELT, and also I offered the same course to B.Ed English students of our university. Now, this is the one, using this WhatsApp, I think this is one of the biggest pastime of our students, even all the time, I think in their conscious life, they use this particular app. I used this source to keep in touch with my students. I have 3 groups of PGDT group separate, B.Ed group separate, and I used to communicate with them. I used to share articles with them. I also used to share instructions as to how and what they had to do with these articles. One, for example, on the course teaching of pronunciation, all the standard articles that are written by various people on strategies of teaching pronunciation as a second language in the classes where English as a second language is taught, and those articles I used to share on the WhatsApp, and instructions as to what to do with the articles, and then I use other apps such as Google Meet, such as Skype, such as the one that we are able to communicate and connect with each other using Zoom in order to get in touch with them for making their own presentations. For example, after circulating an article, or let's say there are 10 people who opted for the courses, I used to give them 10 different articles, and they have to choose one from the articles that are circulated to them. If they did not like any of these articles, I told them to find their own articles, and they would use different digital sources which were even now today. I think there are quite a few sites which are facilitating free access to research articles. After reading the articles, they made PPTs, and using PPTs, using these apps, they came online and made presentations for the internal as well as the external examination. And I could not do many refined, sophisticated ways of conducting online exams because I myself did not have a lot of knowledge about the uses of this technology. But I think it's time that we all pull up our socks. We pull our socks up and get ready to learn how to conduct online testing. But my testing online was presentations based on the articles and based on, and also summary of the books that very primary books for each of the subjects. I used to share them on the internet, and they would do a chapter-wise summary, and they did it indeed, and sent the written documents across to me on my mail address. This is how I did. I sourced some ebooks and I shared with them. Then ebooks that are freely available on some sites with the participants. And for the training-centric programs such as PGDT B.Ed, I used to share either YouTube links or a site instructing them to prepare CLP-related language learning exercises. Because it's a training program, we can't always, play with the theory of language education, and they would have already learned what they had been given training in the preparation of learning material, and they would come back either on the Skype, on the Zoom, or on the email, trying to get connected with me. However, it was not it was not rosy. We had so many problems because we live in a very diverse situations, and although there is a lot of material online that we can use freely, for example, Skype you can use free. You have to buy Zoom. Even if you want to use Zoom, it's also available free of cost, but after 40 minutes it gets shut down, and again you have to start all over again. So we can buy some airtime, we can buy the services from them, but how many of our students have access to this? The situation had never been rosy. It turned out that at least 20 to 30% in each class lacked facilities. They neither have a smartphone nor any other electronic gadget. So how did they do? How did they comply with the instructions? A few others complained that they lived in a remote area, not just it's not something an alibi. It's true, remote area, and can't make it as the bandwidth is too weak to respond. But I think it's a fact. And although since you work in a central university or work in an engineering college which had all the facilities, but for remote learning, online remote learning, if the learners did not have these facilities, now I think our efforts are not completely met with success, but too weak to respond. Others said they could not send assignments as they did not have means to type. For example, yesterday there was a participant of mine calling from Nagaland, said I didn't have a laptop, but book I summarized, I've written it on a piece of paper. What do I do? How do I send? Can I read it up? Can you please call me? But my university said that, in fact, that's a positive way of conducting an exam. Another source, it's a choice given to them. But at the end of the day, when you award grade, you should also produce some semblance of a script to the board of to the controller of examination, saying that based on this script, this grade was awarded. I told her the problem, and then I told her to take a pictures of what all that was written and send it to my mail address or share it on the WhatsApp. I did not have means to type, store, and transmit. We settled for the handwritten ones, which was screenshot and sent via WhatsApp. But I must tell you, you can't. That anyway, you can show it as script to your examiner, your controller of examination. But when you had to run the anti-plagiarism software, how would you do it? So there are quite a few problems I went through in the post-COVID teaching scenario, and what and how I came forward. So first internal, second internals, all I conducted via, as I told you already, and there were protests from students, and they are genuine, I must tell you, please. It's not that some students were faking, but anyway, those who had facilities also wanted to join hands with those who didn't have facilities, saying that it's injustice that you did not prepare us well in advance for these classes, and we don't have the gadgets, internet, and sometimes no power. Why? Yes, no power. It's not only power is nobody's hands. Even several times halfway through my online communication with some of those learners who had access to this had to fail because there was a hailstorm followed by power shutdown, followed by internet trips, and I had to cancel the classes. And some students, they sent me messages saying that, sir, there's no privacy at home. I think it's a fact. In a large home, not in terms of home, I'm talking about the family. And where do you expect your learners having multiple rooms and one room all for themselves, where there's a laptop or a desktop and with internet connection? And one student said, sir, when I go home and my people think that I came home only to help them in sharing the domestic chores. So where is the time for me to get to come online? And like you, sir, we not only work from home, we also work at home. So these are realities in our country, actually, when we wanted to put our to conduct remote learning via internet. As girls, we have to take care of either our younger siblings or do the household chores. So please, once I'm out of the university, my center is displaced, turning and turning in the widening Jaya. The center cannot hold. Okay, we're decentered. All facilities have been shut down. So therefore, I'm sorry, I can't. So there were mails and there were WhatsApp messages, and there were some people sent messages to some of the friends expressing their inability of coming online. And one student also made this objectionable comment, although he says, we are not as privileged as you are, buddy. So please don't think just you have all the facilities and everybody else has. Although I had to really talk to him and told him that it's not my choice, it is the choice of the government, as we were left with no choice, and this is the only way. However, I reached out to such people on the WhatsApp, and also I requested them, okay, it's okay, you didn't have to come online, but read some stuff and get ready for this. See, and also, some of the teachers, I have a college-going son, and the next door we had to, when I used my laptop, he had to attend his classes online on his mobile. When I didn't have a class, he used to go. And then I found that many of the teachers did not adjust their original face-to-face classroom behavior online as well. They went on all the teaching time that they had online, kept on talking, hiding themselves like I'm doing it here. But it's a seminar. I am not teaching anything. I'm giving a talk, but actually it should have been a very interactive learning tools could have been used, but the attitude to the class is the same attitude that we generally have when we come into the face-to-face mode of teaching. That requires a different attitude. We need to make adjustment. We copied the same face-to-face procedures even when communicated using the Zoom app, which means speaking continuously. I used a lot of PPTs to transfer the content because I was teaching teacher education. But what do I have done if I were to teach language? Is something a big question. Maybe we need to explore other ways and sign up for other apps in order to facilitate language education. Since I was doing language teacher education, there was content to be translated. It was andragogy. Our learners were matured enough to read on their own and get back when they had problems. But I'm still at sea. If I were to teach language, what would I do? I used MS Word as a substitute for the conventional blackboard because I shared the MS Word file and I started typing on it, and I extended MS Word to the blackboard using the feature share screen. I ran into numerous technical issues, in the beginning also we have run into. We've seen voice did not go through sometimes, face did not go through. It's okay if the face is not visible, but at least the voice, and the power cuts, internet, loss of video, audio, and so on. But I think we managed now. We have reached a stage I can really fix this problem solved by myself. Of course, we are always dependent on our college-going children to fix these problems. I found that the distance mode of this kind of remote learning using internet and education technology has deprived, once again, the students who had been socially, economically, culturally already deprived. That's how I say deprivation twice born for those who started and the first time coming back to schools, and for the first time coming to schools and colleges, universities, and settling down in the hostels and being able to use technology provided by our free education system, and had to be, chased away to their places where there was no access to technology and there was no access to the digital platforms or digital apparatus like laptop. And India is a pluralistic and diversified country in terms of culture, economy, digital tech facilities, and opportunities. I understand that the practice of online learning has doubly, I think, post-COVID, forced online learning has doubly deprived the students who, in fact, already suffered the social and economic deprivation, again, from taking part in the process of education. Now, what do we do in order to make such students, in order to make such deprived, disadvantaged sections of our students to come and be part of the, if at all, online is going to be mainstream? I think 30% of our education system hereafter, if at all there is, if the pandemic, will that cease to happen? If it continues, how long? We don't know, but we have to continue our education system. Therefore, my universities just sent a mail this morning asking us to prepare 30% of our syllabus online, which means we need to prepare, slides and other accessible ways we need to devise to conduct. But when students, at least 30%, lack these facilities, how are we going to integrate them into the stream of online and remote learning? This is the big question. I guess the universities, colleges, government, and other concerned bodies must think about ways to integrate these students and bring them online and be part of this network for being able to be part of this remote learning. This is one of the biggest problems. I think it has to be addressed. And we could not make any effort because it was emergency imposed, at least by the time we reopen our colleges and universities for the next year. And we see that, each college must have, like a library, we borrow books. There must be facilities, if not in the universities, but local government in the panchayats and local governments in their mandal offices must come up with this idea of keeping these laptops and tabs and issue them on loan and get back. You can and recover after the use is accomplished. That's the only way I can think about. I think there are maybe people who have creative ideas of making these gadgets available for them as well, so that they would also come online and be part of this online remote education. To conclude, I discussed the story of English language education in 4 different parts and how it was in the early days when Grant, who is known as the father of English education in our country, theoretically, but the one who implemented was somebody else. But he's also in literature. He's also known as in theory, in print, in lecture. He's the father of English education in the country. I discussed, and then post independence, what was the situation in India after English was accepted as one of the important languages of the country, and more important than local languages because it sat pretty well next to the Hindi, which is the official language of the country, and English as the associate official language of the country, and how it was taught, and what are the institutes that were established, and how those institutes overnight became university for reasons not known. For instance, CAE, nobody knows. Professor Chowdhury, Srish Chowdhury, in his blog, he wrote, I quote, "I don't know why CIFL had to become a university. By becoming a university, it had lost its special status and special mandate. I think now it's one of the central universities offering all kinds of courses." And post globalization, what was the situation I discussed, and post COVID, and my situation as a teacher, and what problems I went through, and problems I have gone through, which means I'm still going through, and my experience online teaching, and how at least 20 to 30% of our students could not make it, and we, as a result of deprivation, I call it tech deprivation, besides other deprivations, did not allow them to be part of, and also measures that have to be taken on a war footing to make them integrated into this system of remote online learning. That's all I have for now, everybody. Thank you for being with me all through this time. And if there are questions, I don't know if there is any space for questions. And a keynote is like this. It is not focused, and keynote will touch upon all the areas that are part of the seminars. And today we are doing it on the web, so webinars. And I finished my talk, and over to Hari.
Yes, sir. I'm
Dr.
ready
Hari?
now. Yes, sir. I'm ready
too?
now. Are you?
I thought I was ready. You're ready too?
I'm also ready too, sir. Thank you. In fact, participants have almost posted some 550 to 600 entries, sir.
Okay.
As of all, out of all, a big thanks to you particularly. And they also have mentioned this is an excellent presentation, touching upon starting from British Raj to now. There are quite a few interesting questions. One is I can just
one second. I want to see some of you, because can you see me, everybody? Because I did not get to see myself so far as I was looking at the share, file share. Zabi is there, my friend Zabi. Javid, my friend and student, is there. Any other? I know Sudhir is also there. Yeah, right. Okay. There are 301 participants, I think. Why didn't you admit there are 3? Poonam Shukla, Srisha Gudipati, you did not admit them. Should I?
Sir.
I have admitted them, because they've been
waiting
for a long time. I did it. Joining
even we were doing it, sir. We were doing it. In fact, they had a bandwidth issue, sir. So they are
I guess quite
in.
a few. I discussed towards the end of my, this is not everybody's cup of tea, and we think we have all the facilities. We don't live in Jannat, we live in we live in difficulties, and one of the difficulties is to have access to the internet, access to the educational technology.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we allow one or two participants to ask you some of the questions, or is it okay? Now it is 12:45.
I wanted to make it very clear that, you know, I do not want to take any provocative questions. I know it's a difficult period.
Yes,
we are all under
yes,
lockdown, and people must be very angry with everybody. If that anger is going to be taken on me, I'm afraid, you know, it's
no,
all
sir.
right.
No,
Let's
no,
go
no,
ahead.
no.
Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Anybody would like to ask? Raise your hands, and we'll put you in slowly. Before that, sir, there is an interesting question from the chat window.
Yeah.
If at all these are the problems, can you suggest some of the solutions for these problems? Kind of bandwidth issue.
Disadvantages.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not, as you know, we are also at the receiving end. All of us, I think we must post problems to the concerned agencies, requesting them to, you know, fix the problems, address them in the first place. As part of my talk, I also suggested that the local governments, the local bodies must, you know, have some funds so that they establish, you know, libraries, establish some storehouses, so that they would procure some materials such as tabs and disposable, you know, things, so that those who live in the village, live in the villages, in the rural, in the countryside, you know, borrow them, use them, and redeposit them. I think that's the only way I can now think about. Besides the universities and the colleges, if they also, you know, can come forward to make such people accessible to technology-related education. Yeah, you know, those days,
Yes,
when All India Radio was first introduced, all the villages used to have a public address system. And if the sarpanch or the panchayat thinks about it and use their money that may have to procure 4 or 5 such goods and, you know, these gadgets, and keep them available with them, learners, students could borrow them, use and redeposit. I think that's one of the ways.
yes, sir. That is a prime question from many of the inputs here.
Yeah, that's a
Are you
major
getting
question as far as our country is concerned.
Yes,
I'm sure
sir,
Zabi
yes.
also will have the same problem when he goes back. Zabi?
Yeah.
My friend Javid is working on blended learning, and Javid, you will also run into the same problem when you go back to Afghanistan. We share the same economic, cultural, and educational requirements. I think your problems are multiplied and multiple, more than what we have here. Yeah.
And then one Nizum Ramra Acharyulu. So he wants to talk to you.
He wants to talk to me. Okay. Over to Acharyulu.
Mute yourself, sir, Acharyulu, sir.
Oh, I should mute, is it?
No, not you, sir. I'm trying to unmute Acharyulu, sir.
Wonderful. Can you hear me? Is that okay? Mr. Narasimha,
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Narasimha Rao, can you hear me? Yeah. Dr. Rao, where are you from? I think you can speak.
Yeah, he's unable to speak. We have one Najum Ramraj Acharyulu. No.
Okay, Acharya Deva.
And right, sir. He's not available. And then, yes, sir, this is what the whole chart history. And before we are winding up the session today, sir, I would like to ask one of our heads of the departments from our institute to propose a thank
You
note
can
to you, sir.
also, Dr. Hari, you can
Yes,
once
sir.
again request them to come up with some suggestions
Sure. That's what,
or
sir.
come up with some,
I have,
explanations, extension of what I said. They could also append to
yes,
giving their own experience as language teachers, how they
yes, sir.
had to overnight converse and, learn to use this digital and educational technology, how they felt about it. And it's very funny. You're speaking to a, it's like in an asylum, mental patients speak to themselves. That's how you speak
Yes,
into
sir.
a small hole in front of you, and I don't know. It's really funny that anyway. Now we are getting used to, but our first
Yeah.
experience was it was not very pleasant. That's how we
Yeah.
learn, I guess, right?
Anybody from the participant side would like to talk to sir, please raise your hand. We'll unmute you so that
Okay,
we'll see how far you will go.
Zabi would like to speak.
Can you unmute, sir, if you find
Zabi is a
Jabi?
PhD participant and he's a vice chancellor of a university in Afghanistan. He's working with Dr. Suvarna for his PhD
Oh, great, sir.
on outcome-based education. He's one of our serious students.
Sorry, sir, he isn't.
He's there. He's online.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Zabiullah.
Sir, you're unmuted. You're unmuted, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Venkatreddy, sir, and good afternoon, everyone in the group. I'm very happy. I enjoyed this nice presentation, very informative. It was something that we never thought of it, that we will be able sometimes to hear about the situation that we are facing now. Actually, the experience that we have had in the past 2 months regarding these courses online and teaching through these WhatsApp groups or Zoom and sometimes just through email, lot of confusion, lots of problems we faced as students, and also I conducted 2 classes to some of my students. So a lot of work for the teacher also. A teacher has to prepare a lot of material, not in terms of like to say it be a lot in terms of papers and content, but while preparing these materials, handing them to the teachers, sorry for the students, and while they are receiving those materials, many questions comes to the teacher. These are the drawbacks of these teaching online, what I faced and I learned also. For a small assignment, it took maybe 5 hours like for a class of 40 students because of the problem that they face with the technology, and while they're just as some drawbacks we have had here in the presentation. But for the teachers, if they have like 3-4 classes, my question is how a teacher can handle all the kinds of assignments and the workload for that comes for the teacher, because in one hand it seems like it's more of giving autonomy for the learners to do. I found few students that they're cheating, and one student does the work and then they share with the others. While the same
right.
answer comes, you notice all answers are even word by word, they're matching. For the teacher, this is one thing, it's something, it makes the teacher to be very much aware of such situation. And another thing for some students that they lack to just follow the deadline or whatever the due, it is something if we avoid them, then they may just be demotivated. If not, then again, it's kind of to getting more in these types of teaching. I think for a teacher, there are more kinds of presentation is required. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's true. This is one of the problems, cheating. So I didn't want to, spend a lot of time on how online examinations will result in cheating, maybe we'll have to really think about how to overcome that problem. And for example, if they forwarded their answer sheets or their work in the Word format, we can run anti-plagiarism software and we can get to hear and know. But we give an option to them because they say that they didn't have any facilities to type in and send. So we ask them to take a picture, screenshot of what they, not just screenshot, they take a picture of what was handwritten and ask them to send it across. There is no way that we could run anti-software and then find out whether it is their original or something that they would have indulged. This is a problem, serious problem that we need to address collectively. I'm told Google has certain software where individual learners are also monitored when an exam is conducted between, let's say, 10 to 12, and everybody, again, this will require a lot of technology after technology at a time and place where basic minimum technical apparatus is missing. Yeah. Any other comments? Nobody. Let me check.
So we have one more. We have one more from Anselin Jeju. Can you please talk? I unmuted you, sir. Anselin Jagu.
I can't see. There are quite a few students there. Muhammad Harun is also there.
And we have one more, sir. Ampalam Srinivas Babu. Ampalam Srinivas Babu.
Babu,
so you unmute
please come
yourself.
up.
Srinivas Babu.
Yeah,
Okay.
Srinivas. Srinivas is here. He's online. Srinivas Garu.
Srinivas Garu, please put on mute. Put unmute, sir.
Unmute your mic.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear Srinivas. Yeah.
So I'm very much impressed with your cool presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Because every teacher has to adapt that kind of presentation. That's very, very important besides online teaching, besides using tools, all these things, sir. But the thing is, you have mentioned here, we have some technical barriers. Just Ravi sir has mentioned. Because how can
your voice is dropping, sir. Your voice is dropping.
Shri, please put your hand mic closer to your mouth. Put your mouth.
Srinivas, can you sit and talk somewhere? Can you sit and talk, putting your microphone near to your mouth?
Closer to your mouth. Put it closer to your mouth, Shri. You're making interesting points over there.
There is a lot of disturbance at my house. Just I will sit somewhere else.
No
this
problem.
is one of the problems, Hari, Srinivas. Srinivas Garu. This is one more problem my students pointed out. We in the hostel, yes, we had a room. You are now driving us out to our places. Do you think you have a mansion? Only 2 rooms, 7, 8 people. Where will I have privacy to be able to communicate with you in that kind of ambiance is not there, sir. Please excuse me. And if I fail, if I don't do it, it's okay, but I can't come online. Although we try to, reach them out through means, we called up and recorded what that participant wanted to say after reading the article. That recorded version is now only the proof that I need to produce when I give them grades. We also need to be very patient and pleasant. I know pandemic as it is creating a lot of havoc, especially for students who have come from other countries. They have been locked down, literally locked down. and they didn't have relatives here, others. It's a problem. Yeah. So Srinivas Garu, I understand and I agree with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we have Dr. M. Kasu. Madam, you can unmute.
Kasu, is it?
Yeah, Dr.
sir.
Kasu.
Dr. Kasu, please help others having some Kasu so that they will also buy it.
Am I audible, sir?
May I know where this is? You are, madam. You are.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm from Visakhapatnam.
Very nice place.
Yeah, thank you.
I can hear the waves.
I've been with Hari and Hari's team, very innovative team, and first and foremost, I appreciate your beautiful and systematic presentation, sir. So, am I audible?
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
You are.
Sir, a small question from my end is, it's not out of the presentation, but in general, what I do see that many teachers whom I come across, they do have the problem or issues with pronunciation and accent. So, which plays a vital role in English, as we know. So, I would like to ask your advice and suggestion, how could one improve on accent and the pronunciation, which is very, very important for English faculty?
Thank you, ma'am, for this question. But how was my pronunciation? You didn't say anything about it.
It is, you got a neutral pronunciation, so which I really appreciate, which our English teachers should have. So it's a beautiful pronunciation. So definitely, I think you are the one who can definitely answer this question.
Thank you, ma'am, for that word, because many English teachers still have this colonial hangover of RP.
True.
And I'm very glad that you said, one of the important items that all English teachers must keep in mind, that the purpose of teaching pronunciation is not to convert abracadabra British speakers of English. It's the neutral speakers. That's right, that's the word. Neutral speaker is the one who doesn't have heavy accent of his mother tongue, heavy interference of his mother tongue. What are the strategies? That's the main question. The question is, the answer is that, ma'am, the input has to be very clear.
Yeah.
If the input is there are many girls in the world and output is invariably the same, invariably the worst, which means the listening, which is the basic input of language development, if that has the neutral accent, I think the output will not have any problems, which means the teachers must very carefully attempt to their oral communication in the class, and accordingly the learners will also have and form those good language habits, and they would do the same thing, ma'am. So they should listen to neutral English, and apparently the output will also be neutral. This is one. Second area, there are others who are learning English after high school and intermediate, and what do they have to do? All of us are aware of the fact that our mother tongue interferes at two levels, at the grammatical level, at the phonological level. Identify the areas where some of the sounds that English doesn't have but Telugu has, or Velugu has, Velugu doesn't have but English has, and conduct some remedial exercises, thereby this problem of heavy mother tongue influence can be lessened to some extent, producing what you admire as neutral English users. First is the input has to be neutral. Second, when the input is not neutral, special effort on the part of the teachers to devise remedial learning activities, and thereby they should be made aware of how Telugus can never go to the zoo, they always go to the Jew. Telugus can never say Zakir, they always say Jakir, okay? Zahar, Jahar. So these areas can be very well fixed in, madam. It's not a big problem. Number 3.
Zoom is another word, sir.
Sorry?
Zoom
Zoom,
is another word.
yeah. So we don't use Zoom, we use only Zoom because Telugu doesn't have Za. But is Telugu inferior? Never. There is nothing called inferior language. There is something called superior language. All languages are equally important, equally complex, equally difficult to learn. But if you are favorably disposed towards that language, it's easy to learn too.
Well said.
But, madam, 2 strategies I suggested. One, input must be favorably neutral, and
Yeah.
two, a remedial
Device.
mechanism focusing on the areas that really trouble us. Worst, for example. I don't know. This is a very much coastal Andhra English. Worst first, next. However, it's not a problem. Pronunciation should not be a big issue. Fluency is more important. Fluency is more important than pronunciation. Fluency is more important than speaking grammatically. And after you achieve fluency, you can always find some means and ways to weed out those weed, so that you can refine your communication so as to make it internationally acceptable, internationally, understandable. Yeah, intelligible. That's the word. Any other?
We
Right,
have
sir. Thank you so much.
Vyoma Kesi Sri.
I see.
Hello.
What's that? Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. There's one more.
Hello, sir.
Who's
Hello,
this?
sir. This is Vyoma.
Okay, Vyoma. Okay, madam.
Yes, sir.
What
Very good
does it
afternoon,
mean,
sir.
ma'am?
This is Vyoma.
What's this? Vyoma is
This is
sky. No.
no, it's an astronaut, and it has a religious implication too. That's the meaning of my name.
Vyomagami is astronaut.
Astronaut, yes, sir.
Vyoma Gamanam Gami. Okay, right. Okay. Yeah.
Sir,
Okay, ma'am.
this is
Yeah.
Vyoma, a research scholar and an assistant professor, Department of English from St. Joseph's Degree and PG College, Hyderabad. My question is that, as a teacher,
One
when we
of
come
my
across
friends
class,
is there.
okay,
Ebenezer, is he still there?
no, sir, she isn't.
Ebenezer is there. Okay, fine. Go
No,
ahead. Watch it.
So, as a teacher, when I take a language class, the frown on the student's face is such annoying that, okay, English, oh, it is being learned, we have to learn. And at this stage, when we are giving them online classes, in spite of teacher being very motivated and giving wonderful material to capture their very pertinent attention disorder, but in spite of that, we can see that many teachers, in spite of being very good, fail drastically. So classroom teaching is, on the one hand, is such condition, and online teaching is this condition. How can we actually cut a balance between both and be more presentable, not in terms of etiquette, but in terms of attracting the students' attention while teaching online?
This is one of the biggest problems. There are more Satans in the market than angels. Their mobile is a Satan. Okay, ma'am. There are quite a few things that they are busy with. This system, I think it's not just a problem of the students of your college, man. It's a pandemic, actually. Why learners are not paying attention? I think it's because of the fact that many of them they're very comfortable in terms of facilities. The parents must have given them everything, so they don't have to really work hard to acquire. If parents provide them cars and provide them money, provide them biryanis, they don't find any lack in them, ma'am. So when someone doesn't find any lack in life, I think they don't pay any attention to anything. If you find a lack in life, you have to work hard to achieve it, right?
Absolutely. But that cannot be cited as a problem from my end to tell my authority that
you are not.
This
you
is
are not, madam. I told you again. It's a learning cooperative we form.
Absolutely.
The learning cooperative as a teacher, they are members. When all these members of the cooperative come together, then only it's possible to produce positive learning. If the teacher is more motivated, teacher is highly enthusiastic, teacher is highly educated, highly, charismatic, charitable, highly giving. So what's the use when there is no taker?
Absolutely.
So
you
it's
mean
a
that there
learning
should be
cooperative, we find. One of the biggest problems is that we don't have a classroom now.
absolutely
Right? In fact, classroom for me in the face-to-face made also has its own positive contribution to learning. All
so
right.
as of now you would suggest.
So as a teacher, you can't do, one person can't do anything. The parents also partners. Technology is a partner today. Facilities are partners. Learner is a partner. Teacher is a partner. The app that gives us interface is a partner. So you don't have to really worry about why they are not there when I am, arm myself very well to communicate with them. Ma'am, you do your job very well, and that's the end of it. If they are not there,
Thank you so much.
You are not the the learning is not in the hands of the teacher also. It's a cooperative activity. All of them will have to lend a positive helping hand, come together to form institute. That's the word I've been using. Construct positive learning. Knowledge is not a parcel that you can hand over from one agency to the other. It is an active engagement.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for your input, sir. Nice.
Okay, ma'am.
We have Sauparni Panigrahi.
Panigrahi, okay.
Sir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Is it audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible,
Yes.
Mr. Dr. Panigrahi.
No, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
Please go
bandwidth
ahead,
problem.
sir.
I can't be able to unmute my video. So just ask. I just wanted to ask a question, sir.
Sir, Dr. Panigrahi, please tell me where you teach and what you are.
Sir,
So that
yes, sir. I'm an assistant professor in Day-1, Vizianagaram, sir, Vizag.
Diet, District Institute of Educational
Yes, sir.
Training. Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, sir. It's an engineering college, Dadi Institute of Engineering and Technology.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. My query is, particularly in this pandemic scenario, the open book examination system will help in teaching or in examination system. Like some of the other participants asked, there is a question of copying like that. So will it help? And if it's so, how English teachers can be able to use that? That's my query.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Panigrahi. That's a very interesting question too, because if you're particular about facts and particular about construction of sentences and particular about language structures, and they tend to cheat, and open book will defeat the very purpose. But if you give them application,
sir,
all right, apply application language. If you concentrate on output skill application, I think they can't, even if it is open book, they can't get anything from the book. They have to apply the theory to a phenomenon and make sense of it, right?
Yes, sir. So it won't be useful, particularly for English teachers.
I think the problem of cheating mainly at the higher education level, not at the language education level. If the language education is related to listening, speaking, reading, grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary, cheating has a very, very limited space.
Yes, sir. I do.
But if you base your questions on the textbook, there's an amount of space for cheating. Yeah.
Yes,
but
sir.
device that driven by language functions.
Yes,
so
sir.
they can talk about their mother, father, etc., etc. Where is cheating?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So therefore, yeah. But if it is science and technology, and yes, there is a lot of cheating. But
yes,
if they also think about applying this theory to a life phenomenon, to certain examples, and apply that and produce a project, etc., I think even their cheating is barely minimum.
Thank you.
Okay, Panigrahi.
And now we have Radha Srinivas. Please
Okay.
unmute yourself, ma'am.
Hello, sir. Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, sir, it was very informative and a wonderful session. And
Where are you from, ma'am?
Sir, I'm from Vizag. So I'm the coordinator of Srishti World School.
Very good.
Yes, sir. Sir, yeah. So I would like to thank even the Lendi University so for coming up with such an initiative, sir. It's well organized. Yes, sir. So my query is, can you suggest few ways how to impart the online ethics, sir?
Ethics.
Yeah, ethics, sir, because the present need of the hour is virtual classes. So how can we impart the online ethics to the students?
You mean how to discourage them from cheating in the exam? That is one of the ethics.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, of course. Yes.
But I don't think I'm qualified to speak about ethics, ma'am, because we are only secular teachers and we can't. I think religion can help, and Swamiji's, some of those who are practicing spiritualism, I think they're the better ones to talk about teaching ethics, not English teachers.
Sir, on the same line, sir.
Okay,
on the same line, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, sir and madam.
Yeah.
On the same line, in our FDP, we have had a session on last but 24th day. Mrs. Seshidhar is talking on how, the well-being online.
Okay.
More or less, it is sounding to this question as an answer.
No, I think that hard is a larger question, ethics and society, and
yes,
I think she's her worry is justifiable. That's a very good question, but as language teachers, I don't think I'm competent to talk about ethics, and I can maybe, if I'm a lawyer, I can talk about laws, legalities, but ethical part of life, I don't think I'm competent.
Okay, sir. Now we have Anselin Jegu. Can you please unmute yourself?
What's his name?
Anselin Jegu.
Okay.
And we have Mallikarjun. No. Geetanjali
I can
Saxena.
see Mohammed is there over here, and Luther Ravi Kumar also is there, raising their hand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm coming.
Is that a raising hand or appreciation? I don't know. Or raising hand.
There are rising hand. A blue color is raising hand.
Luther is ready to interact with us. Please unmute.
Yeah, please.
I don't know.
Luther.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Geetanjali Saxena is online, sir.
Madam Saxena, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Very good noon to you, sir, and thank you for such an awesome session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for liking it.
Sir, I want to know, sir, that how can we develop the students' interest towards online classrooms? Because as we know that there is so much struggle in running online classes due to technical issues, and because of that, students lose their interest and they respond passively. So how to cope up with this situation?
It's a bigger challenge, ma'am, for everybody. It's not only challenge for the teachers, for others who are also part of this learning paradigm.
Yes.
So this is not just the teacher's job. Parents must also be there, and management, society. It's a collective effort. It's not just the teacher's effort. If someone is not interested, there may be so many reasons, apart from teacher being one of the reasons. But the teacher says, I'm really enthusiastic and I am interested to help my students.
Yes.
But students don't come forward, which means other members of this learning cooperative should also be active in instilling confidence, instilling enthusiasm, instilling motivation in the learners, ma'am. You don't worry if you're doing your job very well.
Yes, sir.
I think rest is assured.
Thank you,
Where
sir.
are you from? Where are you from, ma'am?
I'm from Shahjahanpur, UP.
UP say, okay. We've
Yes.
been, so
Okay.
far we fielded questions only from the Telugu land, but not beyond that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
We have Luther Ravi Kumar.
Yeah, I'm online.
Luther Ravi.
Yeah.
Ravi is there. Ravi, yeah. Mr. Ravi, so far you were visible, suddenly you disappeared.
Yeah, I'm visible at present.
Okay, Ravi, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venkat Reddy, sir, for giving a wonderful lecture on the evaluation of ELT in India and the importance and the present day relevance of ELT in India. Thank you very much for your clear explanation about that. I would like to ask you one question. As a gist of your message, what I assumed is that there is a lot of need for English in India to develop because of the demand at the international level. So when you look at the state of Andhra Pradesh, there is ongoing controversy between government and some other people who support Telugu in the state. And the government is proposing English medium from lower class onwards, but some people are there, they are opposing English medium in Andhra Pradesh. So as an English professor, as you know the importance of English in the state of Andhra Pradesh also, what would you suggest? Would you suggest to follow English medium from the lower level, or it should be opposite? Some say that the introduction of English medium will kill the language itself here, but the historically, what the linguists say is that the introduction of a medium will not kill any language. Language will not die because of due to the introduction of the medium. So what would you say, and will you support it or not? I'm from Andhra Pradesh. My name is Ravi Kumar from Prakasam district. I'm a government teacher.
Ravi, is your question over?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a, any language, all languages, there are millions of languages which have already died.
Yes.
Right. English also has a predatory role in our country.
Yeah.
Not only in our country, across the world, it is poised to obliterate millions of languages.
Sure.
And millions of languages already got obliterated and vanished.
It's due to only English?
No, not because of English. Today it's English. Earlier it was Pali. Before it was Sanskrit. Before it was Dari. It was Persian. Okay.
Yeah.
So languages are dynamic. They grow out of mixture of several languages.
Yeah.
And then produce one language, and again it dies and it gives rise to something else. But English today has a predatory role in our country, no doubt about it.
No doubt.
It can obliterate many Indian languages, if not today, in future. If not English, some other language might come up, maybe Chinese, maybe Arabic, you never know.
Yes.
However, the question is whether we can have English medium from class 1. But who is bothered about my answer? Whether I say yes or no, it's already on, right? Right. So therefore, but we recognize that it has economic value.
Yeah.
Right. It has a lot of academic value. It has a lot of knowledge value.
Sure.
So therefore, it should not be kept away from the reach of ordinary citizens of this country.
Hats off you, sir. Wonderful.
It should not be kept away. Now, how you do it, whether you do it as a medium of instruction, as a separate language, or close your schools or languages is not my concern.
As a separate language, it is already existing in the sense as it is a third language. But the introduction of a medium is essential. One thing I would like to say that most of my teachers are not able to open their mouth and speak English.
It's a problem. That's a major problem, sir.
Yeah.
The striker doesn't know how to strike.
Really, sir. You're
The
right.
soldier armed with pistol doesn't know where the trigger is.
Yeah, yeah. How can he teach?
How can you win the war?
Impossible, impossible. I appreciate
Therefore,
it.
at least you need to conduct in-service teacher training programs or use mass media. And I think the motivational levels of teachers must also be high. It's high time.
Motivation is essential.
We are all relaxing after landing a job. I think that attitude has to change, sir. It's
Sir,
possible.
it's okay, sir.
Possible.
Another question.
But,
Can
but
I
let's
ask
not
you?
sacrifice. Let's not sacrifice Telugu, okay?
No. We should not sacrifice. We are talking.
Somehow,
My mother is illiterate. She is talking Telugu very much. The only medium is essential for developing English language in order to meet the international situation.
I agree with you, sir. We need both, I must tell you.
Sure. Our mother.
To laugh and weep.
The thing is, I did not forget my mother tongue because of this language learning, English learning.
To laugh and weep, you need your mother tongue. Okay. To earn money and survive, perhaps you need the other tongue.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And we have next one, Vizianagaram
Muhammad.
Taruri. Okay.
Okay.
Mohammed
is, yeah.
Mohammed Majmal Haik.
Yes. I don't know the name. Muhammad is something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mohammed sir, thank you. Mohammed Muzammil Haq. Mohammed Muzammil Haq from KSA.
Okay. Aapko Eid Mubarak, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I am from Bangladesh. I have been teaching English in Jazan University, KSA for more than 11 years.
Wonderful. I'm very glad.
Yes, I am very happy to be in this session. It was a wonderful session. Thank you very much. And it has a, in our university, we have already 2 months experience of transforming from face-to-face learning to online teaching and learning. We used a different platform called Blackboard. So we enjoyed, alhamdulillah, thank you. And our students, I believe, also enjoyed the system. Now it is time for the whole world to transform from face-to-face to online teaching. And today's session, from today, we have 4 days ahead. These sessions will help us to gather more experience that we can practice in our online classroom. And thank you very much. Thanks to Lendi Institute for arranging this type of time-befitting sessions for us. And today's talk delivered by Dr. Venkat Reddy was very wonderful and informative. I'm thanking from my heart to everybody who have arranged this session. Thank you.
So thank you very much for such nice, your generous words. Okay. Nobody here?
Also, we have 1 or 2 hands, sir. Right now, anyway, it is 1:28. I hope we have taken 1 hour extra because of
Ravi, he rose his hand.
Ravi, yes, sir.
Ravi raised his hand. Maybe he wanted to make a point. Ravi?
Yes.
Rabiullah? No. Okay, fine. You want to make a point?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Fine.
No,
fine.
he isn't raising the hand. And anyway, we have one more.
Yeah.
Dr.
Vizianagaram, you said, but she...
Yeah, Vizianagaram, ma'am. Can you talk, ma'am? All right.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, of course.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I just heard all the questions, queries.
Introduce yourself, ma'am.
I'm Mrs. Vijayalakshmi from SRITW, Warangal.
Oh, I see. Okay,
it comes under SR institutions.
Okay, right.
Okay, sir. Only I have gone through all the discussions and queries which were going on till now. I had one major query, sir. We are planning so many things regarding online classes, but do you think that is it possible for every student to have an access towards all these tools and will the government will come forward to provide them these tools and lower the rates of the internet connections, so that, because we are not promised that this is going to end now, it may further continue even for 5-6 months, or maybe 1 year, 2 years, we don't know. So how are we going to help them out of this? I'm talking from student point of view, sir. Till now we have discussed only about our problems, but I'm coming from the student side, sir, because I have spoken to many students who were expressing all this. So what kind of suggestion we can give them?
It's a big problem, no doubt. It's as big as the pandemic itself, because ours is not a homogeneous society. It's a heterogeneous in terms of money, in terms of access to culture, access to education, access to technology, access to equipment. It's a problem, no doubt.
Yes, sir.
It's a real problem. It now has to be addressed by all concerned bodies, including the colleges, and, education in our country. So as part of that, we must provide gadgets to all the panchayats. If there are 10 students in a panchayat, there must be at least 15 gadgets, and under the custody of the library, panchayat library or panchayat assistant or secretary, and see that there is internet facility. If not, we must provide, this is now the need of the hour, ma'am. We must, I think, it's a problem, no doubt. It's a major problem. I said, already I mentioned.
Because, yes, the last point was that integration of
those who are disintegrated.
You were talking very well about the last points, which actually I have felt more attachment towards those points, because they were the burning problems in my mind. So I just wanted to share myself with you so that I would be able to solve or tell some students, guide some students how they can overcome.
Right. Absolutely. And private colleges have a lot of money. They should also come forward to help their own learners. Establish an equipment library.
Sir.
That's right. So gadgets library for gadgets. You borrow and return.
Yes, sir. That's a very good idea. So maybe I'll try to suggest my management also to come forward to do
money
this.
At least. Now it's the time that they use money for better or bettering of education.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your good suggestions.
No problem, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Next one is Dr. Giri Prasad Vidudala.
Nede.
So are you there? Nede. Vidudala. So are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Dr. Giri?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Venkat Reddy, sir, to express my thanks.
Dr. Giri, go ahead.
You
seem to be in traveling, Dr. Giri, right?
No, traveling and keep listening to you and enjoying your talk and speak and span everything what you are doing in your talk. First, I thank you, the organizing committee, and coming to the question without wasting the time. After getting finished your talk, I feel you are very close to my mind because of the loaded knowledge what you have. And the question is very clear. In future, what will be the language? You told, as you told, many languages dying and they die.
They died already.
Because of the outrage of the religious conflict in the culture, indigenous culture of the people, they outrage and they want to destroy the language. In this context, what do you suggest, sir? This is my question, and thank you.
Okay. See, no language can be, I don't think we plan to develop languages, but we don't plan to destroy languages. This is one. Because there have been language planning, and as part of the language planning, some languages get more respect in society, more space in society, and some languages are relegated, but they're also important. So what is important language, which is less important, has to be decided by the speakers of the language. But we can only say that if you learn this language, there's more reach. Okay, you can reach more spaces and places and get to hear more people. But I don't think anybody can plan to destroy a language, which means you're destroying a culture. So that's a very bad thing that happens. You should not. You should preserve culture if possible, because creating culture takes millions of years, and you can't and should not. Nobody has a right to destroy cultures. But we can encourage other cultures also spring up alongside, right? Yeah, this is perhaps you must be making this statement in the context of the fact that Telugu is no more in the schools and colleges. But I think we must give option in democracy. We should give options to people, that people decide what they want. Although I'm not trying to politicize, but that's my view as a teacher and academician, and who is interested in aspects of culture and how they are more permanent than our lives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Preserving is important, valuable.
We must as much as possible try to preserve, and we have no right to destroy, and we can't as individuals. It takes a long time to destroy culture and languages. Any other?
We have other couple of hands, sir. Thiru Sairi, sir. Thiru Sairi from Tirupati.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I am Tirupati, student of PGDT in EFLU, sir.
So you are my student, Thiru?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
I am working in Vizianagaram Government Degree College, Vizianagaram, sir.
Oh, great. Great to hear. Go ahead, Tirupati.
And I am doing my PhD in integration of ICT in English language classroom, sir.
All right, wonderful.
In
Very nice.
University.
Education technology.
Yes, sir. In Usman University,
Yeah.
I am doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, my question is, for the further, can we expect any curriculum changes in view of this pandemic, sir?
Absolutely. You need to now change your curriculum so as to make it technology friendly.
And moreover, Government of India is going to discuss about the setup of virtual university, first of its kind in India. Can we find those kind of situations in and around in the nooks and corners of the India, sir?
I don't know all this. I don't keep abreast of news, and so I don't know. Maybe we need to virtual university, and our communication is now in real time, virtual, right? I think it can happen. I must tell you.
Sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your valuable and informative session, sir. I could recollect the PGDT classrooms.
Thank you, Tirupati, for your kind words, and thank you for liking it. Okay.
And finally, we have other couple of hands.
Dr. K. Narasimha Rao is there.
Dr. K. Narasimha Rao. Yes, sir. Dr. K.
Hello?
Narasimha Rao, sir. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rao.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Narasimha Rao from Krishna University here, sir, in Andhra Pradesh.
Oh,
Krishna
very good.
University.
Very good to know. Very good to know.
Yeah. I'm very happy to hear your voice. But I heard about you from my colleague. His name is Subbaraidu.
Yeah, I think I met him sometime back. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't see you, but this is the right time. I heard your voice.
Lockdown. Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed your session because you gave a wonderful ELT story, because it is very valuable to each faculty who are working in different places. I'm very happy to be here. Particularly your complete session of story of ELT. Yeah? It's a wonderful and a briefing. I think you can brief a wonderful lecture, sir. Thank you for organizers and Dr. Hari Babu, sir, and you also from we have many resource persons. Definitely will expect it is a wonderful webinar. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the aspects, Dr. Rao, which must have interested you was the fact that the British did not know that their language and literature were potential enough to be used in their universities. First, it was tested in our country. Only after they became successful, they started, making them part of their curriculum in Oxford and Cambridge. That's a very interesting fact.
Okay, thank you.
And we have last hand, sir. Last hand, Lata Suhasini. Can we ask Lata Suhasini to unmute her microphone? Madam Lata Suhasini. Okay, then.
There's nobody, yeah?
Okay, we have Jaya Madhuri. Madam
Okay.
Jaya Madhuri, this is the last hand, sir.
Hello, good
All
afternoon,
right.
sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Myself, Jaya Madhurima. I'm working as a soft skills and communication skills trainer in Guntur Engineering College, Guntur.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a doubt regarding to train the students. I've suggested my students to speak effectively in English language is try to speak by communicating by looking into a mirror, one thing. Start reading the newspaper, the second one. Try to allocate the habit of reading or knowing new words by listening or by reading Oxford Dictionary. And I also suggested them to avoid usage of filters like ha, okay, yeah, oh, these kind of words to make them, and it is useful for them to make their speaking skills very effective. So are there any other things to train my students to speak effectively?
All right. When did you do your PG, ma'am?
Sir, 2014 to 16. I've done my BTech MBA along with MSc Psychology. I want to pursue my PhD. Yeah, I pursue my PhD. I'm preparing for my entrance.
You mean PhD in technology or in English?
In English.
Then you should do a PGDT, ma'am, postgraduate diploma in the teaching of English.
Okay, sir.
All right. Why I say it because what the suggestion that you had given were no doubt very good. Yeah. It's a very good question as well. I can see the kind of pain in your voice that you're not able to really help out your students, and you're seeking help from various sources and also from this webinar. Yeah. Madam, first thing someone who would like to improve their communication is to listen. Listening is the first skill. Reading and writing are literary skills that people acquire after joining a college. Yeah. When you learn a language, the foremost, the basic, which develop other skills is the listening. Unfortunately, listening doesn't have a respectable place in our language learning environment. Yes, sir. It is the listening which develops other skills. For instance, after listening, you can only speak. When there is no input, there is no output, right? Yeah. So the input has to be comprehensible input, and that if that comprehensible input is listening, and it's very easy to develop other skills. And let your students listen to a lot of good language habits, and automatically the output sometimes, someday it has to come out. So let your students listen to a lot of English, and you will see why they can't speak. Sure, sir. Yeah. So you would also have our clinically it is known and a fact, science, that those who don't have the ability to listen, which means those who are deaf, are also dumb too. Those who are dead deaf, also dumb. Yeah? Yeah. So if they don't listen, they can't speak. And reading is an artificial input. The natural input is always the listening. Yeah. Only when you give listening as input, You can have the speaking as an output or writing as an output. Reading as input is a literary skill, and I don't know whether, but it lacks sound, right? Reading lacks sound. So the sound is very important. A language that sounds like Telugu is not English.
They can mug up and they can give, they'll by heart and they'll give the oral sessions.
That's what I say. If they listen to, there's no way that they can memorize. But memorization is not a bad idea. Who said memorization is a bad idea? That's how you learn your vocabulary. Okay? It's not a bad idea. People dismiss saying that it's a rote learning. It's one of the tools that many people use. Maybe rote learning. So what? If it's useful to you, it's useful to you. Have I confused you thoroughly? Hello, ma'am. Oh, she's lost control. Okay, connection is lost.
No, you did not confuse.
No, I'm just asking her.
Yeah, and now
I think
all hands are done, sir.
All right.
And all hands are done, sir.
All have been answered. Yeah.
Yeah. We have
Ravindra Babu is there. Ravindra Babu KVS is there. I think he may have a question.
Ravindra Babu.
KVB.
Yeah, Ravindra Babu. Yes, sir.
KVB Ravindra Babu.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I am here,
Ravindra Babu, you should say something.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I can't leave this session even it's 2 o'clock. Thank you very much for giving this wonderful session, sir.
You must be hungry.
And I'm Ravindra, working here as an assistant professor. No, sir. I think you don't require lunch today. You have all of us.
I'm a funny ball today.
Yeah. Sir, we have got a nice experience for these last 2 months. We have been conducting online classes and we are also testing our students through online. And this is all true what you have said. This is all true what you have said for the last 2 to 3 hours, and I totally agree with you. But one point, sir, where some people have said that the cheating is something what they have been facing in the online classes, and at the same time how to motivate the learners. Actually, I felt that this online learning would be successful only when both teacher as well as the students are motivated.
Parents also.
Parents also. That's true. And one thing I like today in the session that you have given the 7 partners in learning, where the method, approach, all this nonsense have been terminated with only one term that you have mentioned, teaching mechanics.
Learning partners, right?
The learning partners. That's 7 points you have mentioned.
Yeah.
Among the 7, there is only one term that you have used, teaching mechanism.
Yeah, mechanism. That's right.
Mechanism. So we avoid all the definition confuses. That's disagreement and other thing. Every teacher will have his or her own methodology once when he enter and faces his own students.
It's true.
Am I audible?
Techniques are concerned. There are as many techniques as maybe teachers.
Yeah, you have suggested that the laptops or smartphones to be maintained as a library and to be handed over. But I can find one limitation here, that every technical, that is electronic gadget, is now customized. That we have, when we want to open an internet, it has to be used our mobile, that's email ID, and certain personal information has to be entered. Then only a device would function according to us. And I think this is a limitation that, that's why if one person has borrowed it, another person can't use it in such a simply like a borrowing of a book from the library. I think we need to think of some other...
The credentials must be same for everybody. If there is an equipment bank, let us say, and using that equipment bank's credentials, everybody can enter. That's what I was thinking. Maybe we need to find a way out.
yeah, we need to find a way out. That's what I suggest. But it's a very nice and yeah, a great session, sir. Great session, really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Yeah. All right. Over to the coordinator.
Yes, sir. This is high time to break for lunch. In fact, we have one last participant, sir, and also very enthusiastic participant from our Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology, Sri Kiran,
wonderful,
Head of the Department, Mechanical Engineering. Engineering. Sir,
wonderful.
you are
so non-English faculty.
Am I
Sri
audible,
Kiran,
sir?
Yeah, you're audible.
Good afternoon, Venkat Reddy, sir.
Kiran, you are audible.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Venkat Reddy, sir. In fact, I am a good follower of Dr. Hari Babu. It's been a while we have been working with him. But then before I talk something, due apologies because I'm talking in a platform of around 300 people whose English is awesome. So if I am wrong in some pronunciation, apologies to everybody on the board, including Venkat Reddy, sir. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Sri Kiran, sir. I head the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And on behalf of Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology, and specifically the team English headed by Dr. Hari Babu, we have been working on these streams very well, sir. They have been like very supportive to us. And I've been following you since almost 3 hours, sir. We belong to the age, quite possible, as you said. We learned from All India Radio and all these platforms. Might be the first Asian Games and the first Olympic Games. It was basically a community type of watching the TV and all these things. So we belong to that age. So probably teaching and learning is another type of phenomena for us. But then I suppose I'm deviating a little bit. But then let me thank you, Venkat Reddy, sir. You have been awesome, sir. I'm into this almost from 10-15. I've been following you, and probably people on the board who have been on the board will definitely help your enlightenment on this field. I always used to have some difference of opinion with Haribabu in terms of that English, during the English Raj system until the post-globalization and all these things. But then I think I won't have that differences from now on, along with Dr. Hari, just because you have given a lucid explanation about how it has started from the British Raj. But then one thing which I have never heard was the first time which I have been hearing was like British have used us as a platform to introduce English in their curriculum, as you were saying in one of the questions.
Trial ground.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So
you're pretty much audible.
That is, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, you are.
So,
yes, you are.
Venkat Reddy, sir, you have literally enlightened me more, like with lots of knowledge about the English. I suppose I thank you. And I thank everybody on the board, especially Dr. Hari Babu and his team, who have organized this, and the people from the board I see from different parts of the country as well as from many parts of the world. A special thanks to Hari Babu. And lastly, my apologies if my pronunciation is something wrong. Thank you, Venkat Reddy, sir.
Dr. Kiran, thank you very much. Your pronunciation is absolutely intelligible. Absolutely all right. It's very good. And I must thank you because usually these in the engineering colleges, the technical teachers, engineering teachers have a very contempt for language and language teachers, and they are being treated on a stepmotherly attitude and all that. But I'm very glad there is a subject teacher teaching mechanical engineering is also interested to learn things related to English language. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. One more thing, sir. It's probably, as you said, the students create interest on the language probably because of the teachers.
and
we are one of the, because of the teachers. And that platform in Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology, I don't know, sir, whether you have visited our college or not. I'm sorry.
I have.
He has visited. He has visited in the inaugural session while Roja was explaining. For the sake of teachers, have you seen a teacher who missed the airplane?
I missed the flight that day.
I'm sorry, sir. In fact, I missed that first 10 minutes of your introduction. In fact, as you said, technical issues. We have 3 people at home. One is work at home, one is learn at home, one is teach at home. So the internet problems, you can understand. So even in cities, we have that problems. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for being on the board, sir. Well, thanks a lot for being on the board.
Thank you very much for such nice words.
And on behalf of my principal, sir, and our management, who have always been supportive to us, sir, always been supportive to us. They have personally thanked you to be on the board, sir. Thanks a lot. I suppose I'll end up here.
Much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Kiran.
Thank you, Hari.
All right. Sir?
Yeah.
Is something else to say before wrapping
I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, sir. And
you please do it. Wrap it up. Yeah.
Yes. It is the first session. For the past many days, we were all contemplating how it has to go forward. Thanks for all love and affection that is shared through his address, our dear Venkat sir. And let's end up the show, and we'll go forward in understanding an hour that we have lost from our lunch time. I'm sorry for that. By evening, again, we are meeting for other session by 5:30. With the permission of sir, let's now sign off and we'll end the lines. The lines will be open by 5 o'clock in the evening in order to come and join as smooth as you are. And I assure you that there won't be any technical glitch for all joining sessions from now here. Thank you so much. With all great love from all the people on this board, we put a sincere namaskar to our Venkat sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank you very much. Namaskar, bye-bye.